And we are live. Welcome to A Girl in Love with Tech podcast. My name is Rachel Rabo. I'm a Microsoft Power Platform developer and a Dynamics 365 CRM developer. This is the first time you are listening to this podcast is focused on Microsoft technology and also talking about the community. And this podcast is streamed live on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and also my YouTube account. So make sure to follow and subscribe everywhere. And our special guest for today is Davy. And we are going to be discussing about AI and Copilot in Microsoft Power Platform. Hi, Davy.
Hi, Rachel. Hello. Good afternoon. Good evening from wherever you are.
Yeah, amazing having you here today. And I love this session so much, this episode so much, because Copilot is something new to everyone right now. And we are trying to learn to see how to actually use Copilot. And today we are going to be discussing about it. And we are also going to be showing how to use Copilot in Microsoft Power Platform. So yeah, amazing.
That's true. And by the way, it's not quite new. This last week, Copilot celebrated his first anniversary. So it's already
Wow.
1 year.
Yeah. Yeah, amazing. Really, really amazing. So please, if you can introduce yourself so that we can know more about you.
Yes. So I'm David Roeck. I live and work in Belgium. And I work for Microsoft. And with Microsoft, my role is called technology specialist, which
Okay.
means I can work all day to figure out how Microsoft technology can be used, especially for customers, large enterprise customers.
Yeah.
Um, and so my area that I'm specialized in is the Power Platform, of course, otherwise I wouldn't sit here. So
Yeah.
you can believe it's a fun job, play a whole day with Power Platform, see how it can bring value to customers and show them all those nice features which I have here with me today for you and your and the
Yeah.
whole podcast.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And thank you. Thank you very much. I'm really excited. And before we go into discussing about AI and Copilot in Microsoft Power Platform, for our listeners, maybe this is the first time they're hearing about Microsoft Power Platform, or they have heard about Microsoft Power Platform and they want to really know more about what is Microsoft Power Platform. So, to you, what do you say Microsoft Power Platform is?
It's a good question. So Microsoft Power Platform is a brand or a name of the Microsoft Low Code platform. So
Yeah.
with the Microsoft or the Low Code platform from Microsoft. With that platform, we try to bring a platform to users where they can develop components.
Okay.
Um, it's already long. It's a long history already there, the Power Platform, but especially, and we will see it later on in this podcast, especially this year, where we
Yeah.
have the Copilot, it opens a lot of new doors. And
Yeah.
it's
That's
a platform for the citizens developers, what we call or people creating some applications for themselves. But you will see as well for pro developers, it's a nice platform.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's really, really amazing. And before we go into today's topic or today's discussion, what is AI and what is Copilot?
Well, let me maybe then show a couple of slides,
Okay.
because those will better describe what
Yeah.
Copilot and AI is. So
Yeah.
let me maybe start with a question, especially for here and also for the audience. If
Yeah.
a friend asks you to explain the difference between AI and Copilot, how would you
Yes.
feel to explain it, Rachel?
Yeah, I think I would be a little bit confused. Maybe if that is the first time I'm hearing about AI and Copilot, I'll be like, okay, is Copilot not the same thing as AI? Yeah, I think that's the question I'm going to ask.
Well, I'm going to
Yeah.
explain it to you and try to do it quite well. Also, I'm not an AI expert. Also, for
Yeah.
me, the last couple of months, I think 6 months, I went into this journey and it was also new for me.
Okay.
So, if we look a little bit first to that AI, if you
Yes.
look to this slide, you see AI is already a long time part
Yeah.
of computer science. You see, what is it, 1956? that it
Yeah.
started
Wow.
to artificial intelligence, and people were afraid that computers maybe could replace humans. Um,
Yeah.
so you see, if we talk about AI, that is already long time. The
Yes.
second part that we saw was machine learning, so that
Yeah.
computers could learn a little bit based on predictions. Think about, I still remember it, the Watson computer from IBM who beat the first chess player. So that was a little bit on that machine learning capability.
Okay. Yes.
Secondly, we had that deep learning. Deep
Mm.
learning is here you see neural networks connecting computers to each other and used to process and make decisions.
Yeah.
And now the next step in this journey is what we call generative AI.
Gen- yeah. Generative AI. Yeah.
And what is new about generative AI? The term generative. It can create content, it can create visuals, it can
Okay.
give images and whatever. So if we talk about AI, normally we should say generative AI and not just AI. That's already
Okay.
a first thing.
Yeah.
Secondly, if we look to AI, we really can say there are two kind of models. And I will not do that much theory, but you need a
Yeah.
little bit maybe theory to better understand everything. So simple models are models defined and built or trained to do just one thing.
Okay.
And then you have a foundation model, quite new, where we have more intelligence that can be used for many applications. Let's give a few
Yeah.
examples. So for the simple models, if we look in the Power Platform especially, you will see
Okay.
that was there already for many,
Yeah.
many years.
2019.
2019, we had
Yes.
that AI Builder. I'm not sure, have you used AI Builder before, Rachel?
Yeah, I have. I have used it on Power Automate. Yeah.
And the AI Builder component, have you used it before?
I no, I haven't, but it's actually on Power Apps. It's on Power Apps. Yeah.
It's a Power Ups and Power Automate, whatever. So you see, we
Yes.
had already long time that AI, so that's not new. In
Yeah.
2021, we had natural language already. So people are maybe not aware, but that was already using GPT, an old version of
Okay.
the GPT. We had it both in
Yeah.
Power Up as well in Power BI within Microsoft. And
Okay.
then you see, about a year ago, we had that natural language format data examples and the Power Apps image format to an app where you just could give an image and he built it up. Have you ever seen
Yes.
this already?
Yeah, I think for this particular image you're showing right now, I had no idea that natural languages was already in Power Apps and Power BI, which is a very, very good information to know. And with what you have said, I think there's actually a question I have to ask you. You showed AI, you had a diagram, like a slide where you showed AI, you showed machine learning, you showed deep learning and generative AI. So, in the sense of that particular leveling, can you say that machine learning, deep learning, and generative AI are all under artificial intelligence?
Yes, all of them are kind of artificial intelligence. Yes. So
Okay.
you also see it here on the left. One is built on top of the other. First, you had the AI, the real
Yeah.
artificial intelligence, and then later on, a better way was, or a better component was called machine learning. And so it's
Okay.
always improving, creating new kind of versions, models in that AI space.
Okay. Okay.
So
Yeah.
those one, let me show you. Let me maybe also show to the people here if they are not aware what we are talking about here. I
Yeah.
have two demo cases. But
Okay.
before, let's jump in what we already had, because you say
Yes.
AI builder. Think about we had capabilities in those
Yes.
four areas you see on the screen. We could
Yeah.
easily process documents. Think about OCR. You could give a
Yeah.
PDF and he recognized the content. You
Yeah,
could
that's true.
scan
Yeah.
yeah, you could scan an invoice and he was already able to
Yeah.
identify the information. But that was really trained on one purpose. We had already
Okay.
translate, sentiment analysis, and so
Yes.
on. And then also, just knowing, we could already build our own models. We could even build our own models, train our own models, but always one thing
Yeah.
in particular, just for one single thing. If we need
Okay.
to analyze an invoice from one vendor, we train one model. If we would have a different layout, we train another model. So that is really
So,
a simple
okay.
model.
Yeah, so that means that we before we had Copilots in Power Platform, we already had AI already in Power
Yes,
Platform, which has been doing so much, so many amazing things. Yeah. So yeah,
perfect. Yeah.
that's
And I like it that you repeat this because we still have it. It's not replaced. It's not
yeah,
removed.
not
If you
this.
can use it, still use it. Eh? Let's call it old. The old technology, the old features are still here, and they bring in a lot of value.
Yeah,
Let's
it does.
show. Let's show a few of them, just to give you
Okay.
a nice example. Power Ups ID. So I'm
Yeah.
not. We have here, for example, a typically Canvas app. A Canvas app that you probably will recognize.
Okay.
It's not playing well. Okay, a Canvas app
Yeah.
that you can see. This is one from Microsoft where we can praise each other. And let's
Okay.
imagine that you have here a Canvas app, and you are new in that space. You work
Yes.
for
This the app is really, really nice.
Voila. And they ask
Yeah.
you to sort this list of cards, technically a gallery. They ask you
Okay.
to list, to filter this gallery. So how would you do it if you
Okay.
are quite new in the platform? So one thing that you could do is you could go to the internet, to Bing, and
Hi,
search and learn.
hi, Davy. Sorry, can you increase your screen a bit? Like zoom in
Um,
into your screen a bit. Yep.
no, no, then it's.
Just yeah.
Wacht,
I
I'm
think
gonna.
from the side, the
Yeah,
at the
but it's a
up.
little bit. It's a little bit with black corners around.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
It's pre-recorded. You will see. So what we
Okay.
could already do is we could go to the ideas,
Yeah.
and you see here we could use already a kind of GPT, but it's not really GPT. We could already
Okay.
use our own language model to find maybe formulas. We could say sort my kudos ascendic
Yeah.
based on the creation of. And you
Wow.
see the system generates for me my formula.
Okay.
This
Okay.
is here already for 2, 3 years. I'm not sure if you was aware of it. Let me
Yeah.
quickly fix that Teams. I will.
Okay.
Well, I hope you are still.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And if you are listening to this podcast, if you have any questions concerning AI in Power Platform, or maybe this is the first time you are aware that AI is in Power Platform, just drop your questions and Davy is happy to answer all your questions. Yeah, because this is a perfect explanation about the differences between AI and Copilot in Power Platform. So thank you so much, Davy.
yeah, please. And I don't see the question. So if there is a question, please do not hesitate, and bring it here to the floor.
Yeah, sure.
So you see here, we could easily type already what we want. So let's go a step further. I could even change it. And with a more
Okay.
complex formula, like it's also
Okay.
filtering with all the records from last month, here you will
Yeah.
see that the system could already generate my formula. Here with
Okay.
the last month, if you are new in the platform, it was not always that easy to find the formula
Okay.
they add to there. So this is an example of what was already there before
Yeah.
before Copilot.
Pilots came in. Okay.
Quickly, the second example is the Express design. Yeah, remember, we have it already in
Yeah.
2021.
In
So
Power
let's
Apps.
imagine,
Yeah.
yeah, and maybe you have
Yes.
seen this. Imagine that somebody asks you to build an app to register for a running contest or running event. You could
Yeah.
easily write on a piece of paper the app that you want. And if
Yes.
you give this to
And
the
it's
system,
amazing. Yeah.
yeah, you see, and now we give this to the system, just that picture that we sketched, and the
Yes.
system will now, by already Azure cognitive services that were available, he
Okay.
recognized the form that we need.
Yeah. And I think the amazing part of it that I love about this Express design is that you get to select what layout you are going to use. Is it a phone layout or a tablet layout? Like if you can notice from this process, you choose the phone layout. So it's really, really amazing.
Yes, and you see, he recognized quite well the text label, the input label,
Yeah.
checkbox, but he made it also mistakes. For example, that T-shirt size is not a
Yeah.
text label, but it's a drop down. We still
Okay.
could change it quite
Change it.
easily in a drop down.
Yeah.
And that is how we already were able, for more than 2 years, to design
Yes.
apps. And if I then build the app, first we need to
Yeah.
build a dataverse table. Easily here, the system guided me
Yeah.
through the data table or the model, as we call, needed for
Yes.
the app. And you will
Yeah.
see in just a few clicks, I have my app. The app built
Yeah.
based on that image. But this is not an app that
Amazing.
I can,
Voila.
yeah, yeah, good,
Yeah.
yeah. But this app
Yes.
is not an app that I could use to my end users. But here you will really see the value of that low code with easy drag and drop my buttons.
You
Maybe
can.
change a gallery, add some font sizes, or maybe
Yes.
change a theme, bringing an image as a background, maybe
Yeah.
as well. You can build a quite fancy application. And the
Yes.
only thing that was still required here to do is just one single
Change
formula
background.
behind
Yeah.
the submit button. That's the only line of code that we have to do. And so you
Yeah.
saw why we call it low code. With just a single code line, I have a full running application
Yeah.
created from.
Yeah, hi Davy. I have a question to ask you. Like a lot of people are so scared about this particular improvement technology, and they have that statement they actually make like, okay, is AI, is Copilot going to take my job? Like, can you see the difference? Like what happened just now with having a sketch and
Okay,
this
yeah,
is built? It's amazing.
yeah. But this everything I showed you is not Copilot. That is just
Yeah,
AI that we
AI.
already had.
Yeah.
Now
Yes.
let's jump in Copilot. So before Copilot, let's explain me the other models. Remember, we had simple models, but
Yes.
now let's jump in the real stuff, foundation models.
Okay.
There are different models, just knowing that. And the
Yeah.
most important model that we're going to talk about today is that first one. That is the
Yeah.
large language model, or what we always refer to as LLM. And maybe you have
Yes.
heard
Yeah.
already it, LLMs and so. So from now
Yeah.
on, you know it's just a category. It's just a kind of a type of foundation model that exists.
Yes, and I think I read recently on the differences between ChatGPT and Copilot. They actually make use of large language models. Yeah,
Well, actually, the large language model is just a category. It's a type. It's a type of a foundation model. And
yeah,
the actual model is what you see here. It's the GPT model. That is the real model that
yes,
has been trained. And the type
yeah,
is language model. On top of that model, you have
yeah,
products. Products like the one from Microsoft, Azure OpenAI
yes,
Service. So understand the difference between the category, the model, and
yeah,
then a product using that model. But we can
okay,
go a little bit further. There are, on that single model, GPT model, you have
yeah,
an OpenAI API that you
yes,
can use, but there are also maybe like Microsoft or Microsoft Azure OpenAI service. What is
yeah,
the big differences? The big difference is if you just go to bing.com and you open and you do their GPT, it will use the OpenAI
okay,
APIs. It sends your prompt, your question to
yes,
OpenAI. And
yeah.
OpenAI can then use your data to train.
Yeah,
But
and yeah, sorry. I think there's something I also want to mention is that concerning using the Azure Open AI, it's actually a very big advantage for users because it makes your data secure. Because a lot of people think that okay, Copilot, with me using Copilot, is my data safe? Is my data secured?
yeah, voilà.
Yeah,
So first of all, you see here, all the orange ones are Microsoft services where the data and the prompting is in your organization, in your tenant, in your environment. It is not sent to OpenAI. It's just kept secure in your organization, first of all.
yeah, yes,
And secondly, you see here things like Copilot and all those ones are
yeah,
built on top of the orange one, the API, Azure OpenAI. The
okay,
global GPT that you see on the internet is using the OpenAI services. But
yeah,
both of them are built and trained on top of the same GPT model. And the second thing to know is that if you send a query and so on, a GPT model is something they cannot easily retrain, let's say, overnight. The model
Yeah.
that is trained today is already trained for 1 or 2 years ago, and
Okay.
that is fixed. The GPT model is fixed. If there will be a
Yes.
new model, then it's 3.5 or 4 or 5. Because sometimes people think, but everything that we now search will be used in the GPT model. No, it's not true.
Okay. Yeah.
That model
Yeah.
is already trained. What can happen is everything that you send through, let's say, OpenAI APIs, that they
Yeah.
collect that information and will use later on to train a new model. That can happen. That will
Okay.
never happen with the orange ones. Microsoft services will never use your data to
Data. Yeah.
train another GPT model.
Yeah, I have a question for you, Davy, and this question is on Copilot, like what we are discussing about our Azure Open AI services. So, what do you think about the new development of Copilots in Power Platform?
Well, let's maybe then jump here in some examples. So before
Yeah.
I jump in the examples, you see here the real difference between GPT-3
Yes.
and ChatGPT. So you
Yeah.
see in the previous slide, GPT-3 is more a service that can be used, like
Okay.
GPT-3, GPT 3.5. ChatGPT is a
Yeah.
product that is built on top of a GPT that you can just use to generate content. That's a little bit theory.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Okay.
let's make it now a few examples. There is more than just GPT-3. But if
Yes.
you see as an example for GPT-3, typically journey, we work with prompts. And you see
Yes.
here an example of a prompt. A prompt is ask a question to the GPT, for example,
Yeah.
write a tagline for an ice cream shop, and he will give you a response.
Yes.
And that
Yeah.
is really
That's so cute.
that
Yeah.
generative AI. You're gonna generate something, and in this case, GPT generate a text.
Okay.
We also had the codecs. Think about the people who work already in Git and GitHub. They could
Yeah.
write code quite easily. It's not
Yes.
always that text. There are many different variants of generative AI. And you also
And
have, yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
sorry, Debbie, I have a question to ask you. Like, if you can notice from the screen, we have something that is familiar with everything used on these different, with GPT-3, Codex, and Dell. They are all using prompts. So,
Correct. Yeah,
yeah,
that is a generative AI.
yes, I have a question to ask you on prompting. A lot of people get it confused on how to use prompting. So, what do you think is the best? Because right now you have your prompting and it's well explained. So, what do you think? What is the best way someone can actually use prompting effectively?
It's a good question, and I think I don't know the full answer. I'm not
Yeah.
a prompt engineer nor a prompt expert, believe me.
Yeah.
I tried
Yeah.
this week to generate my own image with the new Microsoft Designer, and believe
Okay.
me, I did a lot of promptings before the image was quite well what I expected.
Yeah.
So, but prompting is kind of for people who knows a little bit about programming, kind of pseudocode. It's writing a kind of a statement that you will send to the machine and that the machine then tries to understand. And in the
Okay.
next couple of slides, we're going to show a few examples of prompting. And on the
Yeah.
end, I can also give a GitHub repository from
Yes.
somebody I know in the community who worked on that prompting, who gives examples of different kind of promptings.
Yes.
And also good to know is that, especially in the Copilot journey, you will see it's not about a single prompting. You can prompt
Yeah.
and reprompt over and over again to refine maybe the outcome.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just showing the link to the prompting GitHub repository.
And so you see, yeah, that is the one. And so you see here also on the end, DALI and so on can generate an image. It's not always text. But here you see good
Yeah.
examples of it can generate something based on a prompt. That is that generative
Yes.
AI.
Yeah.
So let's then jump a little bit in the topic of today. So what do you think is the best programming language that we have, or that the people could have or could use?
Yeah. I think for me, I think C sharp or Python.
or Python. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, the answer is your own natural language.
Yep. True.
Could you
Okay.
imagine
Concerning
if you,
co-pilots, yeah.
voilà, could you imagine if you just could speak your own language to a computer and he could understand you? That would be the best programming language because it will
Yeah.
reach so many people. We don't have to learn that. We learned it already in school. Eh?
Yeah.
So that is also one of the things that makes Copilot and generative AI such a success. You can just play with it by using your own natural language.
Yeah, and I think that's amazing. Like for me, I just gave an example about best languages being C sharp and Python. So imagine going back to go and learn C sharp and Python in order to use Copilot. So and being able to use your own natural language to work with Copilot. It's really, really amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. Yep.
I'm going to show you how you can do it. The
Okay.
first example is Copilot. We are here now in the area of Copilot. What can Copilot do? It can do a lot of things. First of all, you will see examples where it can generate content. It can
Okay.
generate complete apps,
Yeah.
flows, but it also can help you spark creativity. What means it can help you to maybe complete or give you some examples of flows, iterations, or features that you are not aware of.
Okay.
And of course, you will see it can complete cognitive tasks easily, it can
Yes.
understand them and complete work. But enough slides, let's go now again in demo time. Eh? So in
Okay.
this demo
Amazing.
time, you will see that now in 2023, we, Microsoft, we can bring in Copilot in all the products in Power Platform. And I'm going to
Yeah.
show you what it is. So again, showcase. Are you ready, Rachel?
Yes, I'm excited.
Yes. Okay, the first one. Power-ups. Power-ups
Yeah.
Copilot. We're going to build an app. We're going to build an app for people. Think about a shop floor or a manufactory or maybe whatever, a school, and they want to
Yeah.
check out equipment.
Yeah,
Eh?
I think, Davy, excuse me. I think I have a question to ask you before we go ahead.
Yes,
For our
please.
listeners, and maybe this is the first time they're hearing about, because Power Platform is an application in Power Apps is an application in Power Platform, and they do not know what Power Apps is. Please, if you can give us a little bit explanation of what is Power Apps.
Okay, so Power-ups is actually piece or a part of the Power Platform. It's
Yeah.
a product where you can build kind of interfaces. We saw it already earlier in the slide where you have that up with the kudos, where you saw where we could praise somebody. So a Canvas
Yes.
app is a kind of building your screen, your interface, where you can interact with the user and collect data from him or show data. And the application can be posted on a Windows computer, on a tablet, on a mobile phone, whatever.
Yeah.
And so that is typically a Canvas app.
Okay.
So let's imagine that you are responsible for collecting equipment, check-in, check-out in your organization. How would you do
Yes.
that?
Okay. If I had no access to Power Apps, I would have to collect data either by using Excel or by using a notebook. But with Power Apps and Copilot, it makes my job easier for me. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Typically, scenarios people use Excel files or emails or whatever. So let's
Yeah.
now build it up. And you see here, this is a screen from the Canvas app. I
Okay.
just describe it. I just describe it on the top and I say, look,
Yeah.
generate an app. And now that sentence that I just typed in, I will send it to Copilot. And here Copilot tries to recognize what I explained. And he
Yes.
proposed me already, the first thing, he proposed me the table.
Yeah. Which
Remember,
is
earlier we had that table based on that input screen. Now the table is generated based on the sentence that I give them.
yeah, true.
You see?
And yeah. And Copilot is, I think one other thing to notice about Copilot in Power Apps is that right now, Copilot works with just data vars table because this is a data vars table. Yeah.
Yes, it works only with Dataverse tables on today. On today, only a single table, but it will
Yeah.
come for relationships as well. And on
Yeah.
today, only new tables, but in the future, you can even do it on existing tables.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Good. And so you see here on the right side that Copilot chat screen that is here now waiting for
Yeah.
additional instructions. And the
Yeah.
instructions that I can give, you see here on the left with the suggestions.
Yeah.
So for example, I want another column, a new column for checkout reasons. So how can I do
Okay.
that? Quite easily. I just
Yeah.
tell it to Copilot, please add a
Yeah.
column for checkout reason. And
Okay.
now you
And
will see that the system will include a new column. But
yeah.
not just a single column. You also update maybe status reasons or other fields which are in the context of my sentence.
Yes.
But
And
I
it's
can do much, much more.
Yeah, and I think there's also one thing I've walked around, I've played around the Copilot in Power Apps. There's a lot of things that you can do with it, like this checkout reason, for instance. It gives you this column and it also gives you sample data for that particular column, like you have for meeting, for training, for
Yes,
presentation, and for research. So you can actually ask Copilot chat to change it from a single line of text to a choice column. It's really, really
correct.
amazing. Yeah,
Well,
it's really, really
I'm gonna
amazing.
let me show it to the audience. So if I
Yeah.
need more data, I just explain it. I will say, come on,
Yes.
Copilot, please give me more data. And you
Yep.
will see instead of 5 lines, I have 10 lines. So can you
Yeah.
imagine if you are a developer and you need more test data, or in a test environment, you easily
Yes.
can generate more data.
Yeah.
And you're right. If you look to the third column, that equipment, you see on the top ABC, which
Yeah.
indicates it's a text field. But let's
Yes.
assume that we need a drop down because I don't want people to type in, I want people to select the equipment. You
Yeah.
are right. We could just tell Copilot to change that column in a choice field. And
Yeah.
for those who know a little bit the Power Platform, it's called an option set. You will see
Yes.
the system generates for me automatically my option set with all the values and
Yeah.
link it here to the table.
Yeah. I love Copilot on Microsoft Power Apps so much because it's really, really amazing. Yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to show you the beauty. Let's now ask for an app. We just click on an app,
Yeah.
and now the system will generate for me an app. And you will
Yes.
see this app has two screens, and the first screen is something
Yeah.
new that is now went global available as well this
Okay.
month. You will see, and you see it thanks to my good friend Phil Topness, who built
Yeah.
this. We have now a Copilot feature in our app where I can use Copilot to ask questions on the
Okay.
data in the app.
Are you serious? It's amazing. Wow.
You see, I can just ask who has an overdue equipment, and he will tell
Yeah.
me, look, it is Brian.
Yeah. So
So
you
you
don't
can
have to
imagine.
you don't have to go to the app and search for overdue. You just have
No,
to ask Copilot, and Copilot is going to tell you, okay, this is the person that has an overdue equipment. So
yeah.
mind
So you
blown.
don't need to write for each business scenario anymore a screen or a visual or a KPI. Now
Yeah.
the business users can just ask their own simple or complex queries about all the data that is available in the Canvas app.
Wow, that's amazing. Really,
But
really
still, we
amazing.
have the regular
Yeah.
application. You see here with all the list in the gallery, and I can search and look for Brian and see
Yeah.
that indeed Brian had the checkout equipment.
Yes.
And I can create new ones. It is a complete working application. You see there where the option set for the checkout,
Yeah.
the option set for the equipment, a checkout, and it saves the data properly. And
Yeah.
even more, the
Yes.
application that has been generated by Copilot is full responsive. If I open it
Yeah.
on a tablet,
I was
it
yeah, I was
is.
about to yeah, I was about to mention this that there's something I love so much about Copilot in Power Apps is the responsivity. Like if you are working on building an app from scratch and you're thinking about your application being responsive, you have to use containers, you have to make sure that everything is working well, that you can use it on different screens. But with Copilot, it actually builds a screen for you that is responsive. You can use on any screen. So it's good.
Voilà. So can you imagine if you are responsible for checking out equipment? Now you even build an application that people can fill in a little bit by themselves, maybe.
Yeah.
And so that is Copilot in the full beauty in Power Apps.
Yes.
But we don't have only Power Apps in the platform. We also have other products. Do you know another product in the Power Platform, Rachel?
Yeah, I do. We have Power Automate. We have a Power Visual Agent that's now
Okay,
Copilot Studio. Yeah, and
let's look in Power Automate. We also have it in Power Automate.
yeah,
And here the feature has given a name, which is describe it to design it.
yep,
So if you go to powerautomate.com and you click on create, you will see on the top one, you have the capability not to start from blank, not to start from data, but
yeah,
just again start from a sentence or a prompt that you give. So
yes,
let's imagine I want a flow that if somebody fills in a SharePoint list, I
okay,
want a notification on Teams.
okay,
I just type it. And the system will here propose me my flow actions that I need. He
yeah.
recognizes what is the trigger I need and what are all the actions that he thinks that I will need in my flow.
Yeah, I think there's something I want to mention before we go ahead is that there's one thing about Copilot and that statement where people make that Copilot is going to take my job. If you don't know how to use the platform, you cannot be able to use Copilot because you can see what Davy just said now on his prompt. He said, when someone fills out a SharePoint list, message me on Teams. So if you do not have an idea about how the platform works, you cannot be able to give a well detailed prompt in order to build your flow. Yeah, I just say I should point that out.
And it's, by the way, a co-pilot, not an autopilot.
Yep, that's
Yeah? It's supporting you. It's assists you. It's a little bit like a Clippy 2.0, but it's not an autopilot. It's not driving
yes.
himself.
Yeah, you have
So
to ask.
now
You have to ask for what you want. Yeah.
So let's now build that flow. So I accept it. And then the next step is select all the corresponding, what we call connection or connection references to the
Okay.
SharePoint and to the Teams. And I have
Yeah.
here my flow. So the
Yes.
only thing I still need to do is maybe select what is the message I want to post in Teams. For
Yeah.
example, the list is a travel request. So I want the title and I want the date from the travel request. And I
Yes.
have my flow ready. That's all I need to do. So
Yeah.
let's see it live in action. I have a good colleague who can go to
Okay.
Peru. Hey, I like it. She fills in that SharePoint list, and you see Power Automate picks this flow up. He processes it, or she,
Yes.
and you see here that it has been posted in Teams.
Yeah. True.
But look
It's
to the date. eh? The date
okay.
format you see here is raw coming from SharePoint. Let's
Yes.
imagine that you want Friday, the 31st of March 2023. What is the formula that you need?
Okay. For this particular one.
Yes, so this is maybe hard one. So here, the second example. We have
Yeah.
now the capability to format date by examples. We give just the input,
Okay.
we select the
Yeah.
desired output, and the
And
system
are you
search for my
serious?
expression.
Yeah, I do know you have to use the format date time expression like the function, but I had no idea that you can actually ask Copilot to give you the expression. That's really, really amazing and a very, very big step by
You,
Copilot, like
you see?
Microsoft. Yep.
Yeah, they do a good job. So you see now,
Yeah.
just select that to the clipboard, and I replace it here in that Power Automate. I remove that raw format, and if I now
Yeah.
will retest that same action, you will
Okay.
see that the date has been formatted properly.
Okay.
So you see here, not only Copilot built the flow for us, it also guided us maybe through complex formulas.
Yes. And that's really good because right now it's you don't have to check research so much about okay, what formula should I use for what expression should I use for dates. Copilot can easily tell you what expression you can use. It's really, really amazing.
Yeah, especially here, you see, for people who are new on the platform, it's a great help to find those expressions.
Yeah,
But
it's
it can do
amazing.
much, much more. I'll give you another example.
Okay.
Another example. We have in Power Automate also the full Copilot capability, where we can really
Yeah.
do, like you see, the multi-turn, multi-step conversation. What does it
Okay.
mean? Let's build the same flow. If somebody fills in a form from an event, we're going to
Yeah.
reply them in an email.
Okay.
I type it, the system provides me my Power Automate flow.
Yeah.
But
And
now,
And sorry to jump in. I think there's something I want to mention. I want to point out is that when Copilot suggests, after your prompting, when Copilot suggests a flow you can use, if you look at the actions or the trigger given to you and you think this is not what I want to use, you can click on this isn't what I'm looking for, and it will give you another suggestion. Yeah. So I just wanted to
Correct.
point
Yes.
that out.
No, it's good.
Yeah.
Good one. And even if now we are using simple prompts, but if you do a more complex prompt, it can even happen that he suggests you one or even multiple proposals, and that you can
Yeah.
maybe decide which one looks better to you based on what you're looking for.
Yes.
So now we just accept it, but we're going to accept this flow in the new designer because there is a new designer as well for Power Automate. And here we are with the new designer.
Yeah.
And in the new designer, let's select the form. You will see on the right side already that Copilot. Copilot is here in Power Automate as well for me to take further activities or actions.
Okay. Yeah.
So let's imagine I want a condition. I want that
Yes.
before sending an email, I want a condition. I just explain it to Copilot, and Copilot adds that condition for me.
Yes. Okay.
So let's imagine that in the form I have a score. If the score is less than 3, I fill it in myself. And
Yeah.
now, in that condition, true activity, I want to be notified in Teams. I just describe
Yeah.
it, and Copilot understands what the condition has to be, will
Yes.
update that Power Automate flow, and insert that action by himself.
Yeah, and I think there's also something to notice from the flow you built before and this flow now is to notice that they have different interface. And this is the new Power Automate design interface. And that's the one we saw earlier was the classic designer, the old interface for Power Automate. So you can see that there's a little bit of difference when you started adding the connection to the Microsoft form, you had to use parameters, which was showed at the left side of your screen. So I just wanted to point those out so that
No,
everybody
no,
can
a
follow
good one.
along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we can also think about generative AI. We can also use it, for example, to generate content. For
Yeah.
example, in the message to the bot, I can type it myself without any problem. But I
Okay.
also wanted to send an email. And for that email, in the body text, maybe we can ask it to Copilot. So
Yeah.
let's now say to Copilot, well, Copilot, you can update that email body text for people attending the event and use it in a casual tone, use a little bit, emo icons, we tell him. And he
Okay.
understands what I want, and you will see he will find that activity and will then update that property. And if we look back,
Yeah.
look to that nice body text. That is
Well,
a
that's
good
amazing.
example of generative AI.
Yeah.
You see how easily we could build a complete Power Automate by just using prompting.
Yes. Prompting is very, very important. Very, very important. Yeah.
But we can do a little bit more,
Okay.
a little bit more advanced. Also, I hope that we have sometimes here as well a little bit more pro developers because the Power Platform is also for pro developers.
Yes.
Remember, I told about AI Builder. We had AI Builder, uh, but in AI Builder, you also will have now the OpenAI model that you can use. So what does it
Okay.
mean? If you go to AI Builder and you explore, you will see that GPT capability here. And you can
Okay.
use it, for example, to translations. Say hello in Japanese, and he will say to you, Konnichiwa. So, okay, this is
Yeah.
now translations to make it funny. But think about when you work in a multi-language country or organization, whatever
Yes.
language comes in, you can streamline it to one single language, for example, English,
Wow. Yeah.
process it. And also, if you go back to the user, you can translate it back in his own language without any problem.
Yeah. That's really amazing. Yeah.
Or think about another one. You see here, we can do much more sentiment analysis. And
Okay.
yes, we had already sentiment analysis in the simple model, but now there's something, a beauty that I can show you. We
Yeah.
not only will find the sentiment, but we can also find possible subject causes for that sentiment.
Okay.
Let's imagine that you have a restaurant and somebody gives you this rating on your website. You would not be
Yeah.
happy. Eh?
Yeah.
So let's go with this description in to GPT and let's ask him, what can you tell me about it? He will definitely tell you, you see a negative sentiment. But
Yes.
look to the subject causes. He tells you it can be a poor customer service, but it can also be a lack of food and you have a stock issue.
Yeah.
You see here the subject causes. You or the language model understand the context and can find more data out of it. For example, find the context and the subject causes.
Okay.
What it also can do, for sure, find data in unstructured text. You see here an example of an
Yeah.
email with container information. We easily
Okay.
can extract information out of it.
Yeah, that's really, really amazing. This is amazing. Yeah.
You see here, container number, registration number, easily found in my email. Or if I
Yeah.
say, oh, make it a list, and I put also the container length, no problem here with GPT, he will give it to me in that list.
Oh, it's amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
But imagine, do you know what is a JSON file?
A JSON file. It's
Yes.
I don't know how to explain it very well, but I know I have to pick it up when I have an error. I have to pick it up and take it to a notepad or maybe a site where it will help you show, it will give you a clear explanation of what is happening. Yeah, I think.
Well, a JSON file is a kind of a structured formatting where you can describe a kind of data structure, where you can have a kind of an object with properties and subproperties and so on and so on.
Yeah,
It's used a lot in automation in programs and so on.
yeah,
So let's imagine that you are a developer, you want a JSON file, you now easily can ask it. If you ask the same information as a JSON, you will see without any problem, GPT give me this information as a JSON structure.
yeah,
And so you're right, because this is a typically output of a JSON file. What can we do with it? Of course, we can use it in Power Automate. So let's
yes.
imagine that I want an automated way of processing my emails, find this information, and store it in an Excel file.
Okay.
How difficult can it be? Not that difficult. Look, we go
Okay.
again, describe it to design. And I tell them, when I receive a new email, well, translate it into plain text and then save it into an Excel file. I just have to
Wow.
describe it. The system generates for me my flow.
Yeah.
But we miss one thing. So I
HTML.
will first of all filter only emails containing container in the subject. We
Okay.
convert in HTML, but now there is a nice thing that I can show you. We
Okay.
have the capability to include that same prompting, that generative AI, as well here in Power Automate.
Okay.
We can just refer to the same prompting we
Yeah.
used
Copying
earlier.
it. Yeah.
But we are in Power Automate, so what can we do more? We can replace that body text with the dynamic information coming from
Okay.
that trigger. So
Okay.
now each mail that comes in will be sent to Azure OpenAI Server.
Wow. That's amazing. That's really, really nice. Yeah.
And so to process it in the Excel file, I want structured information. I
Yeah.
convert that JSON into an object. And now in that Excel file, I can easily drag and drop the length, the number, and the container
Okay.
registration information just as fields into Excel. And
Yeah.
without any technical formula, I here
Wow.
now have my flow ready to save
Wow.
all that email
And
information in an Excel.
yeah, and all of this is being done by just, it's really, really mind blowing. It's amazing, really. It's really, really amazing.
I'm going
Yeah.
to show you that it works. I
Yeah.
ask my colleague to send me an email, and
Okay.
he sends me an email. You see, the email comes in with that container information. You see here
Okay.
nicely. If we now look to that Power
Yeah.
Automate picks it up. You see, he
Okay.
picks up the email, and
Let's
it
run it.
only takes 4 seconds to format it in a JSON file and to save it into an Excel 5 other seconds. And you
Yeah, and
see,
that's really, really fast. Yeah, I have it here.
Good. In less than 10 seconds, you
Yeah,
have automated the unstructured information in the Power Automate.
yeah.
But we not always have that nice triggers like an email. Sometimes we have to work with unstructured way or with programs that don't support APIs. And what program do we have to use this kind of situations? Do you know that, Rachel?
Okay. Sorry, I was checking the questions. So what questions do you have?
The question is, you see, now we used Power Automate with nice trigger, like an email that comes in. But
Yeah.
what if we don't have that nice APIs that we can use or consume? What kind of program in the Power Platform can we now use?
Okay, I think I have no idea.
That is the thing. This
Yeah.
is our PA. We also
Okay.
have that robot process automation where we can use your desktop with your mouse clicks to build
Okay. Yeah.
automation.
Yeah.
So
Desktop.
let's imagine I will do the same. You have here a website with all the
Okay.
United Airlines fleet aircraft information, and I would
Yeah.
save it into a text file. How
Okay.
easily can it be? What I do, I will go in that Power Automate desktop. I
Yeah.
grab that website into a variable, just two easy steps. And
Okay.
now in Power Automate desktop, we also have that GPT capability that I can drop in.
Okay.
And I can use the same prompting. For example, hey, from the following text, create a comma separated four column spreadsheet with the aircraft model name, the cruise speed,
Yeah.
and so on.
Nice. Yeah.
But what do you
And
see?
I think there's one question I have to ask you before we continue is that right now we have co-pilots in cloud flows. And right now, is there co-pilots available in desktop flows, in Power Automate desktop flows?
You have the Copilot in Windows, but you not have yet a Copilot in desktop flows. It will come for sure later on. And
Okay.
because what you see here is more the generative AI. The difference between Copilot is he do it for you. Generative AI, he understands what you ask and he supports you. Um,
Okay.
it is not yet there. I think it's quite difficult in Power Automate Desktop,
Yeah.
but we will see.
Okay. Okay.
You see here, this we can ask information now easily, like aircraft model name, cruise speed,
Yeah.
that is available on the website. But
Okay.
look, we can also do something nice. We can also do conversions.
Wow.
Conversions from mile per hour directly into kilometer per hour, or from feet and inches into meter.
Yeah.
No problem for GPT. He also can understand this. So
Okay.
we just give them the website information that we grabbed, we save it into a text file, and I have my flow ready in 4 easy steps. Let's play it.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
will see he grabbed that page. You go to that page,
Wow.
he saves all that information he see on the page, he
Yes.
structure it, he save it into a text file. It will
Okay.
take about 10, 15 seconds. So
Okay.
now let's take that Excel file with us. You will see all that information
Populated.
nicely taken away.
Populated. Yeah.
Can you imagine if your job is to take information from whatever other website, supplier, vendor, whatever, you have to type it
Yes.
in your own system. This is amazing easily now.
Yeah, and I think with what you just did now, I think this can also be very possible for web scraping.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, very possible for web scraping. Yeah.
And also the script is quite um, smart. You see Boeing 787, the title, and then you see the three models, and then all the specs.
Yeah.
But he recognizes that structure. He knows, the title is referring to all the models and the specs related to each model. No
Okay.
problem here. We did not have
Yeah.
to train anything, just prompting.
Wow. It's really amazing. So
But
amazing.
we can do much more. We also have the Power Virtual Agent, or on today, a little bit renamed into Copilot Studio, but it's not actually a
Yes.
rename. It's really something else, which
Okay.
includes Power Virtual Agent, but that's maybe for another session. But let's assume Power Virtual Agent.
Yeah.
We can do here a few nice things. And the first
Okay.
nice thing is, so what is Power Virtual Agent? It's a chatbot. It's where we can build chatbots. A typically journey would be that for my chatbot, I have to create topics. And a topic
Yes.
is a kind of scenario that I want to guide my users through to
Yeah.
ask them questions around a certain thing. For example, a holiday request, I would say,
Yes.
okay, from which time to what date, and what is the reason, and so on. And then I guide them through that journey. That is
Yeah.
normally what we would see in Power Virtual Agent a few months ago.
Yeah.
But
I
now
think Yeah, sorry. I think there's something I want to point out. If you're listening to this podcast and you're a little bit confused about what a chatbot is, when you go to, I think everybody is familiar with it, but if you have questions about what a chatbot is that when you go to a website, you might just see a pop up at the side of the website asking you, how can I help you? Do you need any help? And you get to hold a conversation. Maybe it's a salon, a shop, and you're trying to find out what particular time they open or what particular time they close. So you don't have to call the services like the people, the owner of the salon to find out from them. You can easily just get all the information from the website. Yeah. So thank you.
So let's assume that we're going to build a bot. And we, with our organization, we go to, for example, Disneyland. We organize it, and we
Yeah.
can already imagine we will receive a lot of questions from people asking things like, can I play golf there, and so on and so on. So
Yeah.
instead of handling all the questions, I want to build a bot. How
Okay.
difficult can it be? Quite complex because we have a lot of topics. No, it's quite easy. With a PVA conversational booster, you will see that we guide you through 5 steps.
Yeah.
The system will ask you for a question. With that question, he's going to search himself into the cloud, into the Bing, find all the
Okay.
relevant information, grab it, construct it with GPT in a kind of a single message, filter
Okay.
it, moderate a little bit, and give it you back. I will
Wow.
show you. We're going to
Yeah.
build a bot, disney.go.com. I start
Yes.
with this. And now my bot is ready. It's all I need to do. In one
Okay.
minute, I have my bot that I can immediately test and ask questions like, how do I book a tea time? I
Wow.
don't have to write any topic myself.
Yeah. So what is working in Power Visual Agent? Is it Copilot that is working in Power Visual Agent or it is generative AI?
Here it is. This is purely generative AI. He collects
Okay.
for me, it takes a question, as we saw earlier. Let's maybe go back. You see,
Yeah.
I asked the question, was step one. He filtered it so that if I would ask harmful things, it will remove them. With that
Okay.
question, he will, for me, look into the Bing cache for the relevant pages.
Okay.
With those 3 pages, he go to GPT to have a single response and give that response back.
Oh,
You
okay.
see? So you
Yeah.
will see, let's ask another question. My grandma can't walk well. You
Okay.
see here
Are you
a
serious?
response
Amazing.
based of 2 pages.
Yeah.
You see, I can even rent golf carts to drive around. Why not? I was not aware of it.
Yeah, and there's even links created for you that you can actually check. Yeah.
And
It's
he give you the
amazing.
sources where he find it. And
Yes.
also look to the sentiment. I love it. You see, we asked him, hey, my grandmother can't walk well. He answered a little bit in a kind of a sentiment. I'm sorry to hear that your grandma has difficulty walking. So it is not
Yeah.
just computer language purely as we recognize it years ago. No, it brings in a little bit sentiment as well, if you want.
Yeah, and empathy, because from that first statement where it's sorry, I'm telling you, I'm sorry to hear about, you understand, it brings in empathy, which is really nice, a
Yeah.
nice touch. Yeah.
If I ask whatever other question from a complete different domain or a different website without any problem, here the bot will give me the answer. So it's not just a single page or a single website that will be taken into consideration. It's really
Yeah.
everything linked to that disney.go.com.
Wow. This is
I,
so
bu-
amazing. Yeah.
I built, by the way, an own Boost conversational bot and I linked it to docs.microsoft.com. And
Okay.
I can ask him whatever question. and he searched for me in the Microsoft articles and gave me the outcome.
Yeah,
So you
that's
see here
really
also,
cool.
for example, where can I stay? Without any problem, he find addresses maybe there and give me that information as well.
Yeah, and I think there's something I love so much about this is that it's so fast. You don't have to wait for so long, like wait for 2 3 minutes in order to get a response. Immediately you're asking your question, immediately the bot is answering you, which is really amazing. Yeah.
And also, maybe to repeat, it is not crawling anymore that website. It's really using the Bing cache. It's already crawled by Bing. We just
Yeah.
use that Bing cache. So the people will not see any more visits on their website, for example. So that is also good to know.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, so we can go further. We also can use the same feature, but use now it for internal knowledge bases. Think about your own SharePoint or your own data that you have in your own organization. It's not
Okay.
always public facing websites that we have to take
Yes.
into consideration.
Yeah.
All of them can also be used. Okay? You see here we can use Azure Cognitive Searches, Microsoft Graph, Bing,
Bing.
SharePoint, Dataverse as well
Yeah.
to go through that same summarization engine and then get that response.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, sorry. So do you mean that what we just did right now with using Disney, that we can also use that same process to check on data or to get an information in our data?
yes, let's take a SharePoint example. I
Okay.
have a SharePoint list with all my documents about licensing information from Microsoft Power Platform. I have a Microsoft Power Platform, I have a Dynamics 365 license guide. Both are quite extensive documents, and I put them on a SharePoint list. Let's build a manual bot to handle questions of those documents. So how do I do it?
Okay.
I built the bot from start. This is a typically scenario. We
Yeah.
start that trigger phrase licensing, and I ask for a question.
Okay.
Excuse me. And I'll
Sorry.
ask a question for myself, like, what is the thing that you want to know? This is a typically scenario that we see in a Power Virtual Agent. But
Yes.
now, what I can do, I can add that generative answer activity in a Power
Oh,
Virtual Agent. I
yeah.
give them the question, and I can configure the data sources. And here you see I can use public websites to have a little bit the same behavior as before, but
Yeah.
also I can now just use SharePoint libraries. So let's
Okay.
imagine I have here that SharePoint library with those two documents I just uploaded.
Okay.
What I only need to do is grab that URL from that document library,
Yeah.
okay, and paste it here in that bot. And my
Okay.
bot is ready. I just can start it. Let's test it out with
Yeah.
those 3 easy steps. So now when I click on test bot, I start the triggering by say licensing, and I
Okay.
can ask whatever questions, for example, a Power Automate per user license. And
Yes.
he will look for me to that SharePoint in the documents. What is the answer? Give it back to
Yeah.
me and tell me what document he used.
So in the sense that it's going to be getting the data from the SharePoint and it's not going to be adding extra information to what it is getting, right?
It's just using the SharePoint search indexes that already are available in your organization, for example,
Yeah.
and use that to find information, extract it, and give it to you. In this case,
Yeah.
we not used any external call outside the organization.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's really
You see?
amazing. Yeah.
So even if I would ask another question from coming from another license guide from Dynamics,
Okay.
you see
Yeah.
without any problem, the system in a few seconds can find me that information. And he gives you a nice prompt. You don't have to look anymore in the 50 or 100 pages document. No, you just ask it and you have your response.
Yeah. It's really amazing. I'm mind blown. I'm like,
You see?
yeah,
Yeah?
it's amazing.
And, but that is a good example of a generative AI. Let's look now in Power Virtual Agent Copilot because it also
Okay.
exists. We
Okay.
really can build a whole chatbot just by describing it the same as we saw with Power Virtual Agent, with Power
Power
Automate and
automate.
with Power Apps.
Yeah.
So let's imagine I want a bot. If somebody needs an IT expert, I want the
Yeah.
full name and I want his communication methods like email, phone call, and
Okay.
SMS. And I
Okay.
click on create. Now, Copilot, this is really Copilot, will build my trigger, build all the
Yeah.
questions for me myself. And
Wow,
I
this
can
is
adapt them.
amazing.
If, for
Yeah.
example, give me more variants for the name, and instead of that single variant, I have three variants, and I can
Okay.
even tweak them. For example, make them more professional. I have
Yes.
that multi-turn here available to tweak.
It's really, really cool. Like you don't have to spend so much time to build your bots. Copilot can easily just build it for you. So
Yes, I can do
amazing.
even much, much more. Let's imagine if the people say as a preference contact method phone call, I want to know his phone number. I
Okay.
just tell him, look, if the user select a phone call, well, ask his phone number. And the
Yeah.
system will now adapt the whole Power Virtual Agent scenario, insert a
Yeah.
condition, and
Wow.
then ask
A
for that
condition is
additional
created.
question.
Yeah.
Yes.
So with you giving that prompt, a condition is automatically created. That is really, really cool. Yeah.
And the additional question as well.
Yes. Nice. A very,
You
very nice
see?
touch. Yeah.
So if we now test this, you see, hey, please give me an assessment, who your name, John, phone call, contact method, and you see here the phone number. So in a
Yeah.
few seconds, I have my bot ready that I can just now publish. And
Okay.
if you look something new as well in the um, channels that we can use, you will see now
Yes.
as well the mobile app.
Okay.
We can use our own Power Virtual Agent now inside the Canvas app.
Yeah. Okay.
So that in the Canvas app, you immediately can maybe use your Power Virtual Agent script to schedule an appointment for your assessment.
Yeah, that's amazing, really. I think this is the first time. It's been long I came to the Power Visual Agent environment. This is the first time I'm seeing on for mobile apps. Yeah.
Yes, that's quite new. And by the way, you can also link it to a telephony system that instead of typing, you're gonna work with speech, and you can just use a telephony system to call the bot and ask you and ask your questions just by voice. It's also
Oh,
possible.
yeah, amazing.
Okay, which product from the Power Platform family did we not handle yet?
I think we have not handled Power Pages, which is
Ye-
I'm super excited. Yeah, definitely.
Indeed. This is the last one I have here with me. The Power Pages, the fifth product in the main product in the Power Platform family. So, what is
Yeah,
Power Pages? And Power Pages is the website technology where we can build business related websites. But important is it's not just a
yeah,
CMS. No, we bring in the data that we have in the organization for your customer or your external user and
yeah,
expose it to him so that we can create kind of self-service portals, or have an interaction with your external users through a website, and work with them with
okay,
your internal data the same way that you work in a Power Virtual Agent or with a Canvas app, whatever.
yeah, okay,
So let's imagine we're going to play bank. We play bank. We have here the Woodgrove Bank, and let's
yeah,
imagine that they ask me here to modify that page. We're going to create first a new page for
yeah,
student loan offering. You just can explain to Copilot, create me a complete new page, and you see on the left that a
wow,
new page has been generated with
yeah,
all
and
this sample data around loan information.
yeah, and if you are new to Power Pages, this is the interface for Power Pages. You can easily access Power Pages by going to powerpages.microsoft.com, and you have to have an account created, either a licensed account or you can use a Microsoft developer account to learn on Power Pages. Yeah.
It's amazing product. I like, especially if
Yes.
you compare it with the Power Virtual Agent, it can do nice things.
Yeah.
Now let's imagine that I want to modify this new page, which is completely generated, by the way, not only
Okay.
the content but also the images, and I need to add additional information. I can just
Okay.
add a component, and here I can use Copilot to
Yeah.
describe information that he needs for me to do. For example, create an overview for that loan application, and he generates for me a nice text.
Oh, this is amazing. Yeah.
But it would, if it was only text, it would not be really Power Pages. It was just pages. No, the power
Yeah.
is that we can bring in forms, that we can bring in whole forms to collect information from our external audience. So
Yeah.
let's imagine I need here a forum to collect all that information from those people who needs a loan. So what I
Okay.
can do, I can just in the system say, look here, I'm going to include the
Yeah.
forum. And for that forum, I will use
Okay.
Copilot and describe it. And I just
Yes.
say quite easily, well, create a student loan application form. And he
Okay.
recognizes the whole content. He knows all the fields that he thinks that are needed
Yeah.
for my form.
Yeah.
And look,
That's really nice because it tells you, okay, the type of data that needs to be collected. Like you telling Copilot that, okay, create a student loan application form, and it's already giving you a form that has name, address, phone number, email address, and date of birth. It's amazing.
yes,
Yeah.
a lot of fields, and I can even remove them. Like a field I don't need, loan purposes, because it's for
Yeah.
students. I know why. I just can say, look, that field there, remove it, and
Yeah.
now the system will update. And I just approve it. I click on
Okay.
OK, and now Copilot will generate for me a lot of things. He will generate the dataverse table, the security, etc. Put it here on that form, and I have now my form up and ready to use.
Yeah. Amazing. Really, really
I,
amazing.
I can do more. Let's imagine.
Yeah, I love the parts. I think from this podcast, the part I love where you say I can do more. I'm like, okay,
I can do more. I can change the style. Like now, just
yeah,
change the style into more modern. But even here, you can use in the prompting external website. You can refer to an external website and say, go to that website, take the
okay,
style, and take over that style on this form.
wow,
Copilot can visit external websites, figure out Cascade style sheets, and take it over here in that
yeah.
Power Pages.
Yeah, and I think there's something that you said from the beginning of this podcast where you said Copilot is not autopilot. Like it's really, really true because what Copilot is doing right now is amazing. It makes your job so much easier and so much productive. It's really, really cool. Yeah,
See? And so you can say, okay, everything that has been generated, but I'm a pro developer, is it still editable or is it really something, let's say, built and only recognized by Copilot? No.
okay.
If we open this still in, for example, Visual Studio for Code, a way that
Yes,
a typically person for a Power Page would maybe go and edit, you will see this is just a regular Cascade style sheet and
yeah,
a regular HTML site as we would recognize in Power Pages. So it is not something I would say hocus pocus. It is
okay.
created by what we would expect in Power Pages, but just automatically built by our Copilot.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like you can see the code right now. It's really, really amazing. And thank you so much.
And so with this, I'm on the end of my demo. So let's now stop sharing and let's
Yeah,
look in some questions, or I'm not sure if there are a lot of questions in the chats.
yeah. I think we don't have so much questions. And if you have any question, please don't be afraid to ask your question. If you have any question on what was just demoed, the process on building a bot, the generative AI part of it, and copilots, please easily just drop your comments and ask your question. And also connect with Davy on LinkedIn. Yeah, connect with him
Yeah,
on
you always
LinkedIn.
always welcome it. And please, yes, follow me. I post sometimes nice articles, repost, share. I have sometimes insights from corp or product team that I can then reshare here on LinkedIn. So always welcome to follow me.
Yeah,
And my apologies that we could not stay within the 1 hour, but it was so
yeah,
much that I would bring here to you and the audience that it needs that it takes me a little bit more.
yeah. I was even thinking it would be up to 2 hours. Yeah, and I would have been fine with it because I'm learning so much from it. So yeah,
Yeah. So I hope now that you understand what is the difference between AI and GPT and Copilot, and that you can
yes,
hopefully a little bit explain in your own words what it is all about, and that you understood how, especially in the Power Platform, it can bring value.
yeah, and It's going to bring so much value to people's day to day, like your day to day activities, your tasks, and also to companies and businesses. It's really amazing. Yeah, it's really
Yes.
amazing.
And
And
it
if,
really lowered the barrier that is needed to start with the Power Platform. In the past, you would maybe need a little bit formulas, Power FX formulas to start building, but
yes,
now you can really start by just prompting, explain what you want in your own language, and
yeah.
he will help you and recognize what you want.
Yeah, I think the one you did that actually burst my mind was the one on Power Automate where you spoke to Copilot concerning an expression for dates, and it brought in a date format expression that you can use. It's amazing. Like there's
Yeah.
nothing stopping you right now from building solutions to Power Platform. Nothing stopping you from building solutions to Power Platform right now.
So
Yeah.
I hope you will use it more and more even, and
Yeah.
it's really amazing. It will be a game changer, I think, really for what will come, and we are still on the beginning of it. We call it the area of Copilot, and even we don't know what it all will bring. So
Yeah.
I'm also a
I
big
think
believer of it.
Yeah, I think from 2 years from now, it's going to be so amazing. Like, I can't wait. It's going to be amazing. Yeah, definitely. Because what it can do right now, it's really, really mind blowing. Like what you showed us on Power Visual Agent, on Power Apps, you have on Power Pages, and so many things. So if you are listening to this podcast and you are thinking that, okay, I've heard a lot about Copilot in Power Platform, how can I get started? Or I'm scared about starting with Copilot, I'm scared for my data. You don't have to be scared. Microsoft has got you covered, and Azure Open AI has also got you covered. Yeah.
Follow. I would say thanks for having me here. I hope that I could bring a little bit what is the value of Copilot, and maybe in another episode we can talk about something else.
Yeah, sure, definitely. Thank you so much. And thank you very much, everyone, for joining us and listening to Davy talk about AI and Copilot in Microsoft Power Platform. So, see you in the next podcast. And don't forget to subscribe and follow me everywhere. Bye.
Bye.